Hello everyone, welcome to the Java for Selenium series. So this session mainly we are going to focus about the different types of variables, operators and expressions in the Java. So variables stores the values, operators perform the operations, and by combining these variables with the operators we can have expressions to create some logic. So first let's see why we need variables in the Java. So let's say to calculate the area, here I am calculating by 10 into 5, okay, length into width, and for calculating the perimeter again in the print statement 2 into 10 plus 5. So this will print the area and this will print the perimeter. Okay, so this program is without using any variables. Now if I want to do anything else, then again I need to add these values there as well. So anywhere in this class in the Java program where I need to calculate something, I need to write these values again and again. Okay, so instead of this, Java provides the facility to create variables. Okay, so depending upon your data type, you can create variables and you can assign value to them. So in the previous session, we already seen about the data types, right? So depending upon the data type, we can create variables and we can assign value to them. So when we use the variables in the Java, when we want to store and reuse any data or any value, there we use the variables in the Java program. Okay, so these variables are going to store the values so that you can reuse them anywhere in your Java program instead of writing these values again and again. So first let's say the syntax to create the variables in the Java. So first we need to provide the data type, whether it is a primitive or non-primitive. Then you need to provide the variable name. So this will be an identifier for that variable, and by using that variable name we will be use the value of that variable in anywhere in the Java program. So equal to its value. So whatever value you need to assign you can provide here. Okay, so depending upon the data type we need to give the value, otherwise you will get the error. So for these two methods, let's try to use the variables and let's see how it looks. So this 10 and 5 are integer type of value, right? So you can take integer data type, right? Space. Always try to give some meaningful name to your variable so that other person can also understand easily. So integer, let's say this is my length. Okay, proper naming convention equals to, let's say this is my 10 value. Next one, integer width. So instead of these values here, we can directly use this variable name now. So this is my length, this is my width. So this code looks much better, right? After using the variables, it has improved our code a lot. And here we are reusing the value for this length and width in two methods. So in anywhere in the Java program, if you want to reuse the values for this length and width, you can do it easily by using the variable names. So that's why variables are very important in the Java language. It increases your code readability and code reusability. And in the previous session, we already seen the rules for giving the variable name. So variable name must begin with the letter, dollar or underscore, and you should not start your variable with the special characters. Okay, so always try to give meaningful name to your variables. Now let's see the different types of variables available in the Java. So in the Java, depending upon the scope of variables and their lifetime, there are mainly three types of variables in the Java. So these are the three types of variables available in the Java. First one is instance variables, which is a non-static variables. Second one, static variables, which is also called as a class variables, and local variables, which declare inside a method or a block. So before we look into the details of these three types of variables, first let me show you how we can create an object of a class. We are going to learn in detail about the class, objects, OOPS concept, Java methods in the upcoming sessions. But for understanding the type of variables in the Java, we should have a basic understanding about the object creation in the class. How we can create object for a class in the Java. If I need to create object for this class in the Java, how I can do it? Write the class name, then give the name to your object. Okay, this is acts as object reference equals to new. Okay, new is the keyword again for creating the object, and then again provide the class name, round bracket and semicolon. Okay, so this will simply create object for this class type of variables. So by using this object reference, we will be able to call or use the variables whatever you have added in this class or whatever methods you have defined in the class. Okay, so let's move to our main topic, type of variables. Instance variables. Instance variables are also called as a non-static variables. So these variables are belongs to a object of the class. They do not belongs to the class. So their value will be different for different object for this class, right? So for this class, we can create a number of objects. Okay, so for every object, value for this instance variable can be different. Okay, so that's why their scope is belongs to an object. That's why they exist as long as the objects exist in the memory. Second type is static variables. So static variables are also similar to the instance variables. Only basic difference between static and instance is static variables are created by using the static keyword inside a class but outside of any method. Okay, so instance variables are also we create inside a class outside of any method, but in case of static variables we use the static keyword. So they belongs to the class and the value for the static variables will be shared by the all the objects for the class. So here we have the different value for different objects. Here we have the same value for all the objects of the class. And their lifetime they exist throughout the execution of the program. Okay, as they are belongs to the class. But instance variables belongs to the objects. So once object is destroyed, this instance variables also get destroyed. Okay, so this is the basic difference between instance variables and static variables. Non-static and static. Third type is local variables. So as name suggests, local variables are declared inside a method, okay, inside a class and also inside a method. As those are declared inside a method, we can access those inside that method only. We cannot access the value for that local variables outside of that method. So as these local variables are created inside a method, they got created when method is called. Okay, whenever we called a method by using this object, they get created. And once method finishes its execution, they got destroyed. So instance variables will be created in the heap area, whereas local variables will be created in the stack memory. So let's see few examples now. So example for instance variables need to be created inside the class but outside of any Java method. So write the data type, then variable name and its value. So let's create integer data type of variable. So I will use integer. Instance variable, this is my variable name, is equal to some value. Similarly, for the static variable, it is again we need to create inside the class outside of the method. So we'll directly copy it. Only difference is static keyword we need to use here in case of static variable. And same identifier we cannot use for two variables. So variable name should be unique. So static int static variable is equal to some value. So you can give any value here. So in case of instance variable and static variable in the Java, it's not mandatory to initialize those. Okay, so here we have provided some value, but it is not mandatory. Okay, so I have removed the values. So we will not get any error for this. So what will happen in case we are not initializing this static and instance variables? So at the runtime, their default values will be used depending upon their data type. So both the variables are of integer data type, and integer data type have a default value of 0. In case you created a boolean variable, for example, boolean b semicolon. So in case of boolean, the default value is false. Okay, so depending upon the data type for that variable, their default values will be used in case you have not initialized these variables explicitly. And in case if you have provided some values to these values will be used in the program. But in case of local variables, it is must to initialize these local variables before we use it. So where we need to create the local variables? Inside the method. So let's see how we can create local variable inside a Java method. First create a simple method, public void demo method. So inside this method, I need to create local variables. So this time let's use non-primitive type, which is let's say string name semicolon. So I haven't initialized this local variable yet, but you will get the error at the compile time when you try to use this local variable without initialization. Local val, and let's say I'm going to print the value of this local variable. So if you mouse on this, it is saying variable name might not have been initialized. Okay, so this is the first rule for local variables. You need to initialize those variables before you use it. Otherwise, you will get the error at the compile time. So string is a non-primitive data type. So I will assign values in the double quote. So to print the values for these variables, we need to create the object for the class, and for that purpose, we will require main method as well. So main semicolon. So my object one dot. So once you press the dot, we are able to access the variables and methods in this class. So plus instance variable, and we are going to print the values. So let's keep this inside the system.out.println. So this will print the value for instance variable. So here we have created only one object, and for every object this instance variable value can be different. So for now we have not initialized it. So let's try to print the default value for this instance variable, and if you create a multiple object also, that variable value will be same for now. So I will create a second object, object 2, and for object 2 also I can print the value. Similarly, we can print the value for the static variable. So in case of static variables, we can directly access them without creating any object. It's allowed, you can call by using the object reference also, but as it is static, their value will be same for every instance of the class. So in one statement we are using object reference to call the static variable, in the next statement we are calling it directly. So still we are not getting any error. Okay, so static variables you can call directly using their names or using the class name. Third one, you can call it using the class name as well. So our class name is types of variables dot. Next, to print the values for this local variable, we need to call this method. So again, using the object reference we can call it. So any one object reference you can use here, dot demo method. So if you see, we got instance variables as 0 value for both the objects. Static variable is also with the default value 0, and for the local variable we got the ABCD. So now to understand the difference between instance and static variable, let's try to change the value for instance variable for this object 1. Okay, so once we change the value for object 1, it should not affect the value for object 2, as it is a instance variable. And when we change the value for the static variable, it should get changed for both the objects. What I can do for the object 1, say my object 1 dot instance var is equals to 10. So I have changed only for object 1. We will try to print the values for both the objects now. So for object 1 it should give 10. For object 2 it should again give the default value for this instance variable, which is 0. Okay. So changing the instance variable value should not affect the other objects. So let's copy these statements, run it. So you can see for object 1 we got 10, and for object 2 for this we got the 0 value. So this proves if you change the value for instance variable for any object, that value will be changed for that object only. It will not affect the other object of the class. Similarly, for the case of static variable, which will be unique and same for every variable, I can do, I will directly change the value for the static variable. So you can do it directly by using the variable name is equals to, let's say, 20. Okay, this is the one way, or you can use the class reference here. Okay, which is not required, but still you can use it, or you can use any object as well. Okay, so even though you change the static variable value using the object reference, it will get changed for all the object of the class. Okay, so let's prove it. I will use the object 1 dot static variable is equal to 20. Okay, similar to this statement. So here we are changing the value for instance variable using the object reference. Here we are changing the value of static variable using again object reference. So this value get changed for only object 1, and this static variable value will be changed for both the objects. So again, let's try to print the value of static variable using the object reference. Here I am going to print the value of the static variable using the object reference. Okay, just to prove that it will get changed for both the objects. Okay, so you can see here static variable value 20, 20 and 20. So once you change the value for static variable, it will get changed for all the instances of the class, because we have already seen static variables are linked to class. They are not linked to any specific object of the class. Okay, so for static variables, when you can use it, when you want to define some property of the object which is common in all the objects. So that time you can use static variable. And any property which is going to different for every object of the class, there you can use the instance variable. Let's consider these two examples. One is student class, one is car class. Here every student is going to have different name and different roll number. So these variables are our instance variable, right? But here country will be same for every student in the India. So that's why I have defined it as a static variable. Similarly, for this car class, car will have separate brand and separate color. Okay, every car can have separate brand and separate color. But every car is going to have total values is equals to 4. So that's why I can make this as static. So instead of adding this total wheels value separately for every object, just define that variable as a static. So whatever value you will provide here, it will be same for every object for that class. So this is the basic difference between static variable and instance variable. So in the automation testing, in the automation framework, we make a use of instance variables, static variables and local variables as per our need. So now let's move to the next topic in the session, that is operators and expressions in the Java. So for different types of variables, we can apply different types of operators in the Java. So for performing different operations on that variables and their values, we have different operators in the Java. For example, we have arithmetic operators, relational operators, logical, bitwise, assignment operators and ternary operator. And by combining these variables and different operators, we create expressions in the Java. So at the end, these expressions will provide you some result. So among these different types of operators, we mainly use relational, logical. We assign the value to the variables, we change the value. So we use these operators in the automation framework also, and ternary operator also we use in the automation testing. Bitwise operators, we don't need to worry much about it because it works at the binary level. Okay, we convert that value into binary data system, okay, binary number system, and then we perform the operation. Okay, so we hardly use this in the automation testing. So let's understand these different types of operators and how we create the expression using it on the variables. So first one is arithmetic operators. So here we have created two variables, right? One is A and one is B. So A is integer data type of variable. So we have assigned value equals to 10. So if you see here, this assignment operator equal to is an assignment operator in the Java, by which we can assign a value to a variable or we can update the variable value. Similarly, B is also a integer data type variable which has value 5. So using these two variables, we can perform different operations using the arithmetic operators. So arithmetic, that means we can perform addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and we have modulus which gives the remainder. So if A is 10 and B is 5, we can have A plus B. Okay, so this A plus B is nothing but an expression in the Java. So what we have used here, we have used A variable, we have used B variable, and we have used this plus arithmetic operator. Okay, so by combination of these variables and operator, we have created this simple expression in the Java which will give you the addition of two variables. So this result, two integer variables you are adding, so result will be again integer data type, right? So that's why integer addition. So this is our result. So at the end, as I said, expression will give you some result. So that result data type will be depending upon the input values data type. Okay, input variables data type. So we are adding two integer values, we will get the result in the integer data type. So that's why it is integer addition. Similarly, we can perform different operations, A minus B, A into B, A divided by B, and A percentage B. Okay, so simple arithmetic operator. So this modulus will give you the remainder. 10 divided by 5, you will get 0. So result will be 0 for the modulus. So when we run it, we will get all the values in the console. That's why I have added this. So next one is relational operators, which also called as a comparison operators. So these operators combine two values and return a Boolean result. Okay, so result for this relation type of operators expressions will always be a Boolean. So in the first statement, we are checking whether A is equal to B. So if both are equal, then you will get true in the result. Otherwise, you will get false. So for the Boolean type of variable, we only have two values, true and false, that we already seen, right? So result will be true, otherwise false. Similarly, in the second statement, we are checking if A is not equal to B. Okay, so if you consider A is 10 and B is 5, both are not equal. So here also you will get true and here you will get false. Here we are checking if A is greater than B, then if A is less than B. Okay, this type of comparison we are only doing on the variables by using these relational operators. So equal to, not equal to, greater than, less than, greater than equal to, or less than equal to. So this type of operations we can perform by using the relational operators in the Java. So for logical operators, for example, we have two variables of Boolean type, x is true and y is false. So for the logical AND, we use this double AND symbol. So in case of logical AND, if both the variable are true, then only you will get the value as true. Otherwise, you will get false for other cases. But in case of logical OR, when one of the variable value is true, then you will get true as a result. Okay. So when both are false, then only you will get false. Otherwise, you will get true. Then we have the logical NOT, which will just opposite the value of that variable. So if X is true, it will make it false. If X is false, it will make it true. So when X is true and Y is false, for the first statement you will get false. For the second one you will get true. And for the third one, X is true, so we will get false. So that we will see in the result. Then we have the fourth type, bitwise operators. So all these bitwise operators will use binary number system to calculate the result. So as far as symbol is concerned, for logical operators we are using double AND. Here we are using single AND. Okay, so Java will come to know that this is, if single AND is there, then I need to perform bitwise operation. If I have double AND, then I need to perform logical AND. Similarly, we have bitwise OR, bitwise XOR, bitwise NOT, left shift and right shift. Okay, so we don't need to worry much about it, how it is getting calculated. I will show you one example how it is getting calculated in the binary number system. So for A is 10 and B is 5, we need to convert that A is equal to 10 into binary number system. Similarly, B is 5, so I need to convert 5 into binary number system, and then I will perform bitwise AND. So at the end, we will get the result. So next we have the assignment operators. So using these assignment operators, we can assign a value or we can modify value for that variable. So if C is 10, so here I am modifying the value for C variable to 5. Here I am modifying the value of C variable to C plus 5. So whatever value of C, that is 5 plus 5, that is 10. So here C will become again 10. And C plus equals to 5. So this operator, that means we are going to perform same operation like this. C plus equals to 5, that means C is equal to C plus 5. So after this statement, we will get C equal to C plus 5. So C is 10 at this statement, right? So 10 plus 5, that is 15. So we should get 15 in the result. Okay, so we have now ternary operator. Okay, so ternary operator is like a shorthand for the if-else statement. If the condition in the if block is true, then it will go inside the if block and execute whatever statement you have added in the if. So when the condition is false, then it will go into the else block and execute the statement from the else block. So similarly, in the ternary operator, we are doing the same. So let's try to understand this statement now. So here what I have written, string result is equal to A greater than B, ternary operator. Then I have written two values here, okay, separated by the colon. Okay, so we have colon here. This is the first value, this is the second value. So here what will happen? First, Java will check if A is greater than B. Okay, if it is greater than B, then it will assign the string type of value to this result. Okay, so that's why we have given string here. Result is of string type. If A is not greater than B, then assign the second value to the result variable. So similar to if-else statement, if A is greater than B, then assign this value to result variable, else assign this value to result variable. That's why this ternary operator is a shorthand for if-else statement. So last part, expression evaluation. So how this expression will be evaluated in the Java. So expressions are the combination of variables, operators and their values, right? So here we have this expression. So in this statement, we are performing three arithmetic operations. So first one is A plus B. So this is my first expression which will perform addition of A and B. Then I have second statement. So as it is a bracket, we will perform first operation on this bracket. So C minus A. So this will perform the second one, arithmetic operation. So at the end, result will be the result of this first expression into result of the second expression. So at the end, you will get the result in the integer formats. So that's why we have added expression result as a integer data type. So A is 10 and B is 5 in our case. So A plus B will be 5 into C minus A. So C, here we got 15, right? Here we have the C equals to 15 value. So that will be used here. So 15 minus 10, that is 5. Okay. So 15 into 5. So that will give you the 75. So this is how you can perform different type of operations on the different types of variables by using different types of operators in the Java. So let's try to run this. So quite simple for the arithmetic operators. When a is 10 and b is 5, you will get a plus b is equal to 15. A minus b is 5. Then multiplication will get 50. Here we are dividing a divided by b, so you will get 2. And modulus operator, that means 10 divided by 5, you will get 0 in the remainder. So this will print the remainder. Similarly, for the relational operators, a is equal to b. No, it is not equal. 10 is not equal to 5, right? So you will get false. A is not equal to b, right? You will get true. If a is greater than b, yes, it is true. If a is less than b, no, 10 is not less than b, you will get false. If 10 is greater than or equal to b, okay, it is true. Here we are checking 10 is greater than or equal to 5. Okay, so it is not equal to, but at least it is greater than the 5. So that's why we will get true. And here we are checking if a is less than equal to b. Okay, so 10 is not less than 5 or it is not also equal to 5. So that's why we will get false. Then in case of logical operator, when x is true and y is false, we will get x and y as a false. Okay, so when one of the variable value is false, then anyhow you will get false in the result. So when you will get true, when both the values are true, otherwise you will get false. But in case of logical OR, you will get true when one of the variable value is true. Okay, it is kind of multiplication. It is just multiplying true with the false. So result will be false here. Okay, and here consider it is just addition. Okay, true plus false, you will get true. And for the logical NOT, we use this explanation mark. So if x is true, you will get false. If x is false, you will get true. Okay, so only the negation of the value. Then we have the bitwise operators result here. So if a is 10 and b is 5, we convert 10 into binary value. Then we convert b into binary value, and then we perform this AND bitwise AND operation. So accordingly, we will get the result here. Next, for the assignment operator, value of c after c is equal to c plus 5 is 15. So we have taken c as a 10, right? So initially c was 10 and then we made c is equal to c plus 5. That means c is 10, 10 plus 5 is 15. So in case of ternary operator, we were checking if a is greater than b. If it is true, then assign this value. That's why we got this value here. And this is the result for the expression a plus b into c minus a. So while calculating the result for expression, we need to keep in mind where we have these brackets. Okay, when any expression is in the round bracket, then Java will perform that operation first. Okay, then it will check again where we have the round brackets. Then it will perform the operation in the round bracket first. Then at the end, it will apply the final operator, and accordingly you will get the result. Okay, so order of the operators and the brackets is very important while calculating the result of the expressions. So this is all about part number 3, where we have seen different types of variables, operators and expressions in the Java. So thanks for watching, guys. I will see you in the next video soon.